Good night, everyone. Tonight, God is good and God is good all the time. I hope y'all enjoying yourself and being safe at the same time. This is Essen and the 4th of July. I have some news in a way for y'all tonight. First, we're gonna start with Supreme Court in the affirmative action at Harvard University. They face a civil rights complaint over its legacy of mission. So Supreme Court struck down affirmative action in college admission, saying race cannot be a factor. You know, so they in the affirmative action said they don't want it to be about race. So they're in it. So the civil rights group is challenging the legacy of mission, at Harvard University, saying the practice discrimination against the student of color by giving an unfair boost. So last week the Supreme Court decision ended affirmative action in higher education. So it was a problem with the legacy admission with a white person, and they said it was spot for her because that's their kind of policy. So that's when they had the complaint, and that's how this came about. But then you had NAACP. They stepped in and they stated in the legacy of mission. Because they want to end affirmative action, saying they don't want it to be by race. So he came in and said in the legacy of mission. So the civil rights complaint was filed Monday by a lawyer for the civil rights, a nonprofit based on Boston, on the behalf of Black and Latino community group in New England. So allegedly Harvard admission system violates the Civil Rights Act. So they're saying Harvard admission violates the Civil Rights Act, and that's why they put a complaint in. So United States legacy admission, in the university date, back to they go all the way back to 1920. On the schools that use legacy admission to maintain. See, they use legacy admission to maintain spots, for white students. So they're protesting fields that Jewish, Catholic, and Asian, taking spots at the school. Supreme Court ended affirmative action. Stated that the race cannot be a factor. And since you end, affirmative action, so when all applicants apply for Harvard University, and a student of color is qualified, you have to accept them. Or not, you will request affirmative action to remain. If you have a color of student that qualified and you still don't let them in, then I'm gonna request for affirmative action to remain for that student, for that qualified student to remain in school. So I also request that legacy admission in also. So that's on the Supreme Court in the affirmative action. So we're gonna talk about this. This happened like 3 days ago. On January 6th. Ryder arrested near Obama home. So the January 6th suspect, arrested near Obama Washington home had guns. So this happened 4 days ago. Taylor was 37 years old, and he was arrested after being spotted a few blocks from the former president's home and chased by the United States Secret Service agent. So Taylor was a man that wanted for crime related to the January 6, 2021 crime. Now, he was running with multiple weapons. Now, he had multiple weapons with him. He also, he also was near Obama's home. So I don't know if he knew that or not. I don't know if he knew that or not, but thank God, he was not caught, you know, um, going in his home, so um, that's on that. So let's talk about LGBTQ. You know, they need they need protection on their rights. Supreme Court reversing LGBTQ protection. It made certain business, can refuse them, as customers. So that's what this is all about. Trying to refuse them as a customer to go in any stores, hospital. I talked about that like 2 days ago. So this was 3 days ago. Supreme Court limited them on protection, ruling in favor of a Christian wear design, Colorado. Now, see, this woman here, she was the one, ruled in on it, and it had favor on their decision. So the court decision, represent the vaccinated blow to LGBTQ protection, which have in the received years have been in by landmark, decision at the nation highest court. So one authorized 3 years ago, in which the majority to expand protection for them workers. So according to act, is a landmark peers of legislation that would expand federal civil rights law to protect them, people from discrimination. You know, this bill had passed since February 25th of 2021. So Equality Act, this bill prohibits discrimination based on sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity in areas including public accommodation and facility, education, federal and employment, housing, career. Now this policy here, supposed to protect them, and they just put this in like in 2021, not so long ago. So Equality Act protect from discrimination when you are in the workplace. So when you use a public service like the healthcare, visiting a doctor, the hospital, education, school and college, this policy is supposed to protect them. Equality Act supposed to protect, the LGBTQ. It's supposed to protect them for these places because they're trying to exit them from going into hospitals, getting medicine and doctors and stores and restaurants. They're trying to limit it that. And they're human just like everyone else. They eventually they're gonna have to go to the hospital. They got to see their doctor. They're gonna need all these things. They have to get an education. So Equality Act is supposed to protect them for to enter all these places and not exclude them out. So LGBTQ, they have the rights. They do have rights and protection. This Equality Act supposed to protect them. So I request that we keep Equality Act, keep it restored, to stay in place. Because it just got in place in 2021. So this bill will pass since February 25th of 2021. Okay, so that's the news I have for you tonight. I do have a little quick little word, kind of short. Psalms 23. Everyone knows Psalms 23. The Lord is my shepherd, and I should not want. The Lord as a shepherd David had his own experience because he had spent his early years caring for sheep. When God had came for him to anoint him with Samuel, you know, all the brother was there, but David was in the field, tending to the sheep and everything. So he had experience in that. So the sheep are completely dependable on the shepherd, to guide them, for provision, guidance, and protection. So the New Testament called Jesus a good shepherd. They was calling him the good shepherd. So as the Lord is a good shepherd, so we are his sheep. So that's what he said here. He said, the Lord is my shepherd, and I like nothing. So that means he's saying Jesus is our shepherd, and we are his sheep, and we shouldn't have to want for anything. So he make us to lie down in green pastures. He led us beside the quiet water. He refreshed our soul. He guide us along the right path for his name's sake. And this is what he's talking about. God guide us along the right path for our name's sake. God will guide us on that path. You remember he guided the Israelites? He said, I'm going to go ahead of you. He not only went ahead of him, he gave them light. Because, see, God is light. He made sure they see on that path that he was led to them, that he was given to them. So our shepherd knows the green pasture and quiet water that will restore us. And when we allow God, our shepherd, to guide us, he will lead us on that right path. He will lead us. Because we can't get to our path on our own. We have to be guided by God. God is the only one make our path. So we have to wait on him to guide us to that path, to that right path. Because see, we can get to a path on our own, but it would not be the right path that God trying to lead us on. So even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. So even though we're in our dark storm, what he's saying, even though we're in our dark storm, we will not fear. That's just like Job. I just talk about the last chapter of Job. All the stuff that Job went through. He didn't fear. He didn't understand what he was going through. He still was praising God. So no one but God can bring us safely into the other side. Meaning when you in your dark storm, in that dark valley, nobody but God can pull us out like he did the Israelite. The Israelite was in slavery. They was in that dark valley for 430 years. And nobody couldn't save them again. Nobody but God. Nobody but God came and snatched them out from slavery. Nobody but God can pull us out of that dark valley. So God can bring us safely to the other side. The God of life, our shepherd. God is our shepherd. He is our guide. He will lead us whatever he's trying to lead us to. Because he led the Israelites to that promised land. Because life is uncertain. We see that life is uncertain. That we shall follow this shepherd who offer us eternal comfort. We shall follow God. Even though life is uncertain, he the only person that we can follow will lead us on the right path, will lead us out of that dark valley. So you prepare a table. God prepare a table before us, in the presence of our enemy. You anoint my head with oil until my cup overflow. So a banquet, it was customary, to anoint a person with fragrant oil. Because we know Mary did that to Jesus before he was about to be crucified. She had some kind of fragrant oil that smelled just so good, but it was strong. So when she wasted, it was just so strong the fragrance came all over the tent. You know, so David is saying that God spread a meal, before him, a great banquet in the presence of his enemy. So God was good. He do that. So God had a great banquet. You know, and he had the presence of his enemies there. That had them set at the table. Because you remember he did it with David. So this is David right. So when God had anointed David, God had told Samuel, bring all his brothers up. Have them all lined up. And see, that's how God do. God have everybody lined up, or he'll have everyone sitting at that table. And he said, nah, anoint David. Anoint David in front of everyone. So he spread a meal before him, a great banquet in the presence of his enemy. Now surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So when we under God's wing, we don't want to stay there forever. Don't try to be under for a little while and then you try to go somewhere else, because ain't nobody else can save you. The Israelites tried that multiple times. And what they had to do, they had to get back on their knees and keep on begging God back, because they feel like they wanted to be like other nations. And God ain't built them to be like other nations. God wanted them to be different because they're special, because God loved them. He loved them, they were special. And they wanted to be like, okay, but the other nation got their own king. The other nation got this. God ain't built them to be like the other nation. So God offered the protection of a host even when the enemy surround us. So God always will give you that spiritual protection, even when the enemies are surrounding you. That's just like I just talked about Job. We just finished the book of Job. Job was in all that chaos, and Job already know it was not God. He know it was the devil that came at him. But just like God said, all the stuff that the devil had did to Job, but God did not let the devil destroy Job. When God see that you had enough and you at the end of your rope, God will step in. He stepped in when he saw that Job couldn't go no more. And that's how it is. God still protected Job in the midst of all that chaos that Job was dealing with. He got hurt a little bit. He got everything taken, but that was part of a test. But he didn't let the devil do no more than what he was supposed to do. So God offered the protection of the host, even when the enemy surround us. Promises to guide and protect us through life, to bring us into his house forever. Now this is a good song, 23. I read it every day. Read it powerful 3 times. 3 times, and do it every day. Read it every day. And that's what you do. Once you read it every day, you're going to start memorizing. It's a powerful song. Because David just kept on running from something. And when he was in them caves, he had a whole lot of time on his hand. And he was writing a whole lot of songs. So the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. He make me to lie down in green pastures. He led me beside the quiet water. He restored my soul. He guided me along the right path for my name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and his staff, they comfort me. Thou prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemy. Thou anoint my head with oil until my cup overflow. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever, in Jesus' mighty name. So this is a powerful song right here. Y'all want to get hooked on to the Psalms 23. And so we also talk about the news. We also talk about affirmative action. Harvard, they ended saying color. They said race will not be a factor. So they ended. So we had NAACP came along, and they end legacy a mission. So they end that, And so I had requests. That since they ended affirmative action, so when all applicants apply, of color, they apply for Harvard, and the student of color is qualified. If the student is qualified, since they end the affirmative action. So since they ended, so any person that come there is qualified should be able to enter that school. If not, I will request for affirmative action to remain. So in the meantime, I also request a legal mission in also. So we talked about that. So we also talk about Obama. Obama home, former president. We had on since January 6th. He was arrested, and he was spotted a few blocks from former president home. And when he got caught, he had so much guns and weapons on him. And good thing, he did not enter into his home. So good thing, Mr. Former President Obama is safe. This happened like 4 days ago. Good thing he is safe in that he did not enter or come near him. Because he was running with multiple weapons. Multiple weapons, but they did call him. They chased him by the United States Secret Service agent. So they got him, and when they caught him, he had all kind of weapons on him. So we also talk about LGBTQ, protection. So we talked about they're trying to eliminate them from entering certain places, but they have a critical act, prohibit this discrimination from entering any kind of facility, hospital, and everything. So this policy here supposed to protect them. So they do have rights. They do have rights right here. Critical Act is their rights of protection. So I request that we keep in Critical Act, to stay in place, for their protection, to enter what places they need to enter. So this bill was passed. This bill was just passed a couple of years ago, February 25th of 2021. So they need to go to they are human. They would need to go visit doctors and hospitals. They have to go to school and get an education. They want to go to college. They're human, just like anyone else. So they need these type of things. You can't limit them from going to the hospital. Suppose they die when you refusing them any kind of care. So they is human, and they deserve, to get proper care from the doctor, the hospital. They deserve to go to restaurants and stores. Go to any kind of school they want to go to. So they have a Equality Act protection for them. And I request that it stay in place for them. So we also talk about Psalm 23 that David wrote. It's a powerful song. I also read it 3 times, every day. Every day. Once you constantly keep on reading, you're going to memorize it. No matter where you at, you can just start reading. The Lord is my shepherd. God is our shepherd, and we are his sheep. He guides us. He guides us in a direction that he need us to be in. So that's all I have for you on tonight. Y'all have a blessed night and continue on being safe, and I see y'all on the next video.